Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming, and wish you all the best in the Cartier challenge. So what I want to do today is go through the different sections of the challenge and the submissions so that you can have a better idea of what is expected from you, and I'll give you some of the tips, let's say, on elements that you should focus on so that you get a better kind of rating. So, can I just ensure that everyone's hearing me clearly? Is there any way you can communicate? Can you raise your hands or your virtual hands or chat? Yeah? Can I see on the chat, is everyone hearing clearly? Atimad, Susan, Randa, excellent. Great, so keep the questions coming, Leila, and the comments. Kate, great. So, that's what I wanted to know. And keep interacting with us. Any question that you have, just send it on the chat because that's how we could all benefit the most. So these are the main sections of the application process within Cartier. It's a very elaborate process, but it's great in all cases for you to go through it and think about these various questions and various elements because it's going to help you in your own business. So sometimes as you're getting into your day-to-day activities in your work, you get sidetracked, you lose sometimes focus of the, from the big picture. You don't see or make sure that you're going towards the strategic goals that you had set initially, or you might not have strategic goals that you're working towards. So this is why a process like this and going through these kind of questions are critical regardless of the competition. Of course, the $100,000 prize is not something sorry, just a bit of echo. Yes, $100,000 which is also great, and it'll be great to have. But at the same time, I really encourage you to go through this process. So Elizabeth is asking if a 4-year-old company would qualify. And even though in the submission you'll find that they state 2 to 3 years old as a criteria, but last year when we did the same thing, they actually accepted up to 5-year-old companies. So I would encourage you to submit and basically, even if it's 4 years old, should be okay. We're going to go through some of the criteria later on, but let's start first by going through the main sections. So as you can see here, the sections include an executive summary initially, at what stage of the project development are you, and this is why I think Elizabeth was asking a question about the years. The exact years of operation depend from one company to another. Sometimes people count the years in business from the time that they actually registered the company. In other occasions, it's counted from the time that you actually went and started selling on Instagram. So there isn't a clear-cut definition of when exactly did you start that company, and how long have you been up and running. So this is why when it comes to this second question, what stage of the project development are you? You could be already selling, you could be already coming up with a new product that you're really excited about, that you really want to focus on, even though you've been doing other things before that. So those are the kind of things we'll go into a little bit more detail. Third aspect is about the product or service. What exactly is the product or service? What is the business model? What is your market? Who are your main competitors? Who are the people that make up your team? A SWOT analysis about your business. Some risk associated with your activities and what kind of risks have you taken into account? What's the impact that you will have on society and the environment? And I just want to pause here because this is really the key reason why Cartier is doing this initiative. They want to encourage women-led businesses that are giving back to the society or have an impact on the society or the environment. And the reason for that is they believe that, and so do we, there are many studies that show that women generally lead more responsible businesses. And part of this challenge is to identify and reward the women that are leading some great businesses that have a good impact on society and the environment. So the second, number 11, the question is, how can you quantify that social impact? What's the value you provide? And how can we calculate and see the value? And then, what will this competition help you achieve if you win? So what we're going to do over the next couple of minutes is go through each of these sections, a little bit more details, go through some of the questions you need to be asking yourself in those sections, and also answer any of your questions if you've got any question about a particular section or not. So before moving on, any questions so far? As I said, I think it's someone who's not muted. I'm not sure if it's Sarah or it's a bit of a noise in the background. So there are a lot of people that aren't muting. Okay, I'll try to mute you from here. Just a second while I mute. There are lots of participants who aren't muted, so we're just going to try to do this. Okay, so as our colleagues are muting the rest, I'm going to start going into this slide. The executive summary basically is an overview of, okay, that's much better. Executive summary gives us an overview of your business. My suggestion to you is leave the executive summary till the end. After you've answered all of your questions and you've really got a better idea of how you want to approach the the challenge, that would be the best time for you to go back and write the executive summary overall, and really make sure that it summarizes everything that is in your business and everything that you want to focus on. So as it says here, describes the company, product, service, the market, the customers. So basically all of these other questions that we just went over should be summarized over here. And here are also some questions to keep, that could trigger some more thoughts into your mind. What is your business idea? In what way is it creative or unique? Who's your target customers? What test customers have you approached or could approach? What's the value of those customers? The market volume and growth rates that you could forecast. Of course, you want to show to them that your company is on a growth path. If you win the prize, you're going to use that to basically fast forward this growth path. Those are important things to come across in an executive summary. What's the competitive environment that you face? And you want to show that you understand the competitive environment, and you also want to show that you have you understand it and also know how to address it, how to be able to overcome any challenges, and how will you handle the competition, what makes you different, what makes you unique, those kind of things. So what distribution channels will you use? What kind of partnerships would you like to enter? So like I said, these are questions that summarize all of the other parts of the submission, and I suggest that you leave this executive summary to the end of your submission, because that way you can ensure that you don't leave out anything, and you focus on the most important elements that you've identified in the rest of the summary. So here are some more questions about the sales, the cost, the profit situation. All of this, again, included in the executive summary in a summary format. Opportunities, if you've got any patents that you've worked on, if you've got any kind of barriers of entry for competitions, for the competition to come in. So as an example, you might have a deal that you've done with, you're in the UAE or you're in Saudi Arabia, and you've done a deal with the um, Ministry of Health for your specific product, which will be used as a standard for the coming year, and no one else is going to be competing with you because you have that kind of agreement and that time frame with the ministry. Those are the kind of things that are very important to showcase at an executive summit, because they raise what is called the barriers of entry for your competitors to come in. And like we said earlier on, the key thing in all of this challenge is to highlight your social and environmental impact. We're going to talk a little bit about this later on. So even if your business isn't necessarily a social business, you could still highlight a lot of elements that could have a good standing for the society and the community around you. What long-term objectives, goals do you have? And where are you in terms of your stages of development, and what's the next stage that you're going to work on? So this brings us to the next section, which is the stage, what stage of development are you at? And at this stage, the key thing that you want to show is that you want to show progress. You want to show that you have moved forward. You've got a good product. Like like I was saying earlier, and in answer to the question about when were you set up. So here they're also looking at sometimes companies that maybe have an idea or a prototype that they've put out in the market, and not necessarily, of course, they would prefer to have companies that are operating and have some revenue. Those are, that shows maturity. It shows that you already know the market. It shows that you're solid. But at the same time, if you've got a really great prototype or an idea that you've tested that has been being implemented, and you want to take it to the next level, those are the kind of things that you want to highlight over here. The more you can show that you have done solid work, the more that you could show that you have interest from customers, or if customers have bought, that you've got many references, or you've got people that are willing to talk about their great experience with you, testimonials, all of this kind of thing, these kind of elements would be very useful over here to give credibility about what your product and your solution. Where do you see your business in 5 years? This is another important aim, so that you show that what you've built is something that is good, or what you're working on, but at the same time you have some really great ambitions moving forward. You want to capitalize on some trends, you want to make use of certain situations that are happening, and the more you can show that you know how you will get there, the more, again, credibility you'll give to the judges that you have a clear path and a clear idea of what you want to do. So again, the aim and what judges would look for at in this section is that you really know what you're working on. It's very clear to you. You have some validation from the market, and you know where you want to take that product or solution forward. So those are the kind of things that they would look for at this stage. Again, if anyone's got any question or comment, just send it on the chat, and we'll, I'll pause and interact with you on that. So the third section is focusing on your product or service. So what exactly does it include? How do you produce it? Do you need a large investment basically to get it up and running? Do you need a lot of resources? Whether these resources are material or people? Who are your customers? How do they engage with you? How do they buy from you this product or service? How do they use it? So the more you can really explain about the use case, the better. And usually, as a suggestion and a tip for you, it's very good that you put in this section some either real life situations or hypothetical scenarios of how your customers are using your products or service, and how that use has such a big benefit on them. So here you want to show how your product is different, the value proposition that you have that comes across from this product, what makes it unique, and how does it really impact and add value to your customers. Usually when you add value to customers, if your customers are corporates, so businesses, usually you would be adding value to these businesses by either helping them save some money or helping them make some money. If your products or services are targeting consumers, you could be doing the same, helping the consumers save some money or make some money. But also when it comes to consumers, you might be helping them get a better experience, let them feel good. So it's not just about the money part. But when it comes to products and services used in a B2B environment, a business-to-business environment, you could summarize the benefits in either helping people make money or save money. So what is the business model? The business model is something that you need to explain to showcase that you've clearly thought about the different elements and thought about how you can make sure that you know how to take that product or service and put it out in the market. How much will people be willing to pay you for it or are paying you for it based on the value that they're getting? How are you going to distribute it, basically? Are you going to sell it directly to these customers through online channel like a website, or are you going to be selling it through some other resellers, retailers, or distributors? How will you communicate and market your message to your customers? How will you reach them? How will they know about these, your products and services? What we've done in Potential is we've given you also access to some resources that you can, so we've got some courses, and one of the courses that we've given to you as part of your participation, and these are, we've made them free to you because you're applying to the Cartier initiative. One of these courses is a business model course that we've put for you. So I really suggest that if you have any sort of if you need more information about the business model, I suggest you go and take that course. Our courses are very quick, so you can finish them in 10-15 minutes, and they're video based, so you can watch a video and answers it. And it takes you basically through the whole business model. The image at the bottom of the slide is an image of the business model canvas, which is the tool that helps you quantify your business model in general. So if you use the business model canvas, it would answer a lot of these questions, and it would give, again, the judges a very clear idea about who's your customer, what's the value proposition, how are you selling it to this customer, what's the relationship you have with the customer, how will they buy from you, would they buy on a recurring basis, or will they buy on a one-time basis, how much would be the cost to them, what is your margin, basically your profit margin from the sale. And then on the other hand, it'll also look from the business model in terms of what are the key activities and resources that you need, key partnerships you have in place, and the key costs that you have. The bottom line in a business model is you want to basically show that the growth of your business is very healthy, that if you get more and more sales, you don't want to show that your operational costs are also always going to be growing. You want to show that the more you can show that the sales increase will not necessarily have an impact on your operational increases, cost increases going up too much, the better it is. So scalable business models are, have that kind of nature. This is very common in apps or websites or software, where if you build a website or a software or an app, you build it once, so the investment is once, and no matter how much you sell it, to an extent, you don't need to necessarily build it again and expand the operational costs. Those kind of business models are ideal. Of course, this doesn't apply everywhere. So if you've got a retail shop, it doesn't apply. If you're going to be selling a product, you have a cost associated with it. So it's not as scalable, but at the same time, you want to show that if you're able to sell more and more of these products, that you don't need to incur a large expense on that retail shop. So again, the more you can show these kind of models that showcase how your business model is allows you to scale and allows you to sell more without necessarily increasing your operational costs as much, the better it is, and the more exciting it would be for you, the judges reviewing your, your product, your submission. So I have a question here. Do I have to write the real costs approximately? So at this stage, what would be very important for the judges is to see in the business model, to see the average gross margins, the average net margins. So you could say that I typically, my product gross margins are 30%, 50%, 70%. Those would be the kind of numbers that you'd want to showcase in the business model over here. It would be good if you could write real costs or give an indication, because that way it will give credibility, or people will know that you really have a good grip on those costs. And of course, everything that you're submitting to this challenge is confidential. We as Potential don't see any of the submissions. Even the Cartier team doesn't see it. So only a small group of judges that are judging all of these submissions will be the ones that have access to your submissions. So even if you put some, real costs, there's no worry that anyone is going to get access to those kind of costs. But it gives a lot of credibility to the numbers. And there is a section later on which is about the financials, where you need to put some of the financial figures on a high level, at least top line and bottom line figures. I hope I've answered your question. And if there's any other question, please keep them coming. Okay, so let me see. All right, no more questions at the moment, so let's move on. What is your market? Here, you also want to show in this section that you're working in a large enough market. If you're working in a very small market, it wouldn't be as interesting to the judges. So you might be targeting a certain small group of people. In these cases, if you are targeting a small group of people in a small geography, it wouldn't be very interesting. But if you want to target these kind of a niche audience, you need to sort of then expand beyond one geography. The more you can show that there's a big market, the better it is. And it's not basically the aim to come across to the judges is that your business is working in a large enough market. I could see a request from someone here to be a presenter, but I'm not sure why you'd want to be a presenter. So as long as you're hearing us, you don't need to do anything else. And as long as you're chatting, then that's basically it. You don't need to be a presenter, and you could participate with us. So going back to the market, you want to excite the judges that you're working in a large enough market. Even if you are today working in one geography, let's say you're in Jordan, it's not a large country, so it's not a huge market, and you have a part of that market there, at least when you're submitting your submission here in the Cartier Challenge, you want to showcase, and in this section in particular, you want to showcase how your idea could then be taken to other markets. So you're in Jordan now, you're doing something targeting youth in Jordan. That's not a lot of, it's a couple of million people. But then as you get that model working really well, there's no reason why the same model couldn't be taken out and expanded into Egypt or Saudi or other markets, and then suddenly you've just got a huge target market in front of you. So if you're working in a consumer space, or you're selling to consumers, you want to show that you have a large population that you're targeting and that this population can afford your product or service. If you're working in a corporate environment, you're selling to businesses, then you also want to show that these businesses there are enough of these businesses that have a need for your product or service. They're willing to pay a certain amount. And the more data you can collect and you can demonstrate here that reflects on the size of that market, the better it is for you. So if you can get some numbers in terms of how much was spent last year in your industry or in that target segment that you're focusing on, and how much you intend to make over the next 5 years, or what kind of market share are you aiming for, those are the kind of things that would really excite the judges if they're large enough numbers. And it will also show, even if you don't have large enough numbers, but that you really are, you understand your market. The other part is about segmentation of your market. A lot of the times we come across individuals that are working on a very broad audience. So when we say you want to target a large market, doesn't mean that you want to say I have a product that works with everyone. Even though your product might work eventually with everyone, you want to show that you've segmented your market in a way that helps you grow from that small audience to a larger audience. And I'll give you an example. Facebook today, just about, it makes sense to just about all of the population. They've got everyone on Facebook at the moment. But when they first started, they started in universities, and specifically they started first in Harvard University, then they expanded into other universities, then they expanded into the rest of the country in the US, and then they expanded out of the US, etc. So even though you might have a plan to reach the overall market, you want to show that you've segmented it in a piece by piece, in a way where you can attract or address each piece of that market in a step-by-step manner so that it gets you to that large base. Okay, so section 6 is about your competitors. Who are your main competitors? What kind of products are out there? What differentiates you? Like I was saying earlier on, do you have barriers of entry for your competitors to come in? Is it hard for others to come and take and do what you're doing? The more you can show that it's harder for others to come in, the better it is for you. Sometimes we come across some entrepreneurs that say, well, we've got a very unique product. There's no competitor at the market at the moment for us. But that's never the case. There's always a competitor for you. Even if you have a unique product that there is no other company that is selling a similar product, your competitor at that stage is no action. Meaning that your customers have an option of not doing anything because they're used to not doing anything because your product didn't exist before. So there's always a substitute for your product and service, either from a competitor who's providing that substitute, or from a substitute from someone that basically, or a substitute from people not taking action and not doing what you're asking them to do by taking your product or service. The objectives in this section and the things that you want to convey to the judges are that you understand your market, you understand your competitors, you know your positioning, you know how you're differentiating yourself, you know what are your unique strengths, and how you're going to stay different from your competitors. So those are the kind of things you want to showcase in the competitive stage. In section 7, it focuses more about, on the team. As you know, the focus of the whole challenge is to encourage women-led businesses. So the more you can highlight the women in your team, that would be positive. Of course, you want to show that you as a woman leader of the organization, so even if you have male companions and partners in your organization, you want to demonstrate how you as a woman are a key leadership member of the company. And you want to then also give an overview of the rest of the team. Who is it made up of? What are the qualifications of the team? How do you all complement each other? Someone's got a bit of a technical background, someone's got a business background, someone's in marketing, someone's in product, someone's in sales. So the more you can show that there's a lot of differentiation of skill sets in your team, the better it is for the judges to see over here. And even if you're still starting up early and you don't have a lot of members of your team, it'll be good to identify where are the gaps that you have. and how possibly the investment and this award can help you fill in these gaps. So you could say that, I've got a great product team, a great technical team, and I've got, I'm leading it, and I've got some really core industry expertise. What I'm missing is a marketing person, and as soon as I get some extra funding, that's the person that I'm going to be hiring. So those are the kind of things that you can highlight over here. You don't have to show that you've got everything covered. It's okay to show that you're still missing a couple of slots, but as long as you've identified that, it gives the judges an idea that you have a grip on what you need to do. So Suhair is asking, does the creation of ideas is a different reason from comparatives? I'm not really sure. I didn't understand your question, Suhair. I hope you can rephrase it or just shed some more light on that question so I can answer it better. And I think, I'm not sure if you could also refer to which section where are you talking about? Is it the competitive section or the product section? And just expand a bit more on your question, please. And any other question or any comment so far? We're nearly halfway there, so if anyone's got any kind of comment or question, please keep them coming through chat. Yeah, so on the competitive side, Suhair, you're asking the creation of is different. So let me see if I've understood what you mean. If it is just the creation, the differentiation of the idea, is that enough, do you mean, as a competitive advantage? Is that what you mean? Okay. Yeah, okay, good. So definitely when you have a good idea, that provides a competitive advantage, and if you showcase how your idea is different from what's out there in the market, that gives you a good, it's pretty good, but it's not sufficient, it's not enough. What you also need to do is to show that you can execute that idea. A lot of the times, especially when we're working with early stage startup entrepreneurs or people that have just got an idea, we hammer the point that ideas themselves are worthless. Ideas don't mean anything by themselves. What makes an idea different and makes it unique and makes it successful is the team that can actually implement that idea really well. I was giving you earlier an example of Facebook. Facebook was not the first social media engine. Google was not the first search engine. So these companies were not the first kind of companies to come up with the idea of the space that they're in, but they were the best executors, the best implementers. So this is why an idea by itself is not enough. It's very good that you showcase how your idea is going to be different. How is it different from the competitors? What makes it harder for competitors to come in to copy that idea and implement it? But the real big thing that you want to showcase is, how will you as a team be able to execute that idea in a really, really great way, and in a way that the competitors wouldn't be able to do. So this is the importance of this section, section 7 about the team. And showing your credibility in this space goes a long way. Hope I've answered your question, Suhair. So section 8 is about SWOT analysis. So again, on the SWOT analysis, we've provided to you a course from Potential that goes into this in a efficient way. Again, these courses are available free. At the end of this presentation, I think you'll have a link to it, and if anyone's got any question, you could send it to the Potential team. They'll direct you. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details here because, like I said, the course is self-explanatory. In a couple of minutes, you'll be able to watch a video and answer your questions, and it'll help you direct your thoughts. And identify the strengths and weaknesses over here in your idea. So section 9 is about the risks. So what kind of risks do you have that you need to take into account? These risks could be things, whether they are economic risks or social risks or political risks. There are many kind of risks, and in the SWOT analysis, this will fall under the threat area. So in the threat area, you'll find, what are the risks that you're facing, and the aim of this section in section 9 is to showcase how you're going to mitigate those risks. So what are your plans for if these risks actually materialize? If something goes wrong on the economical front, and oil prices drop to $10 a barrel, what's going to happen to your consumers? Will they be able to afford your product or services? And if that takes place, what kind of action are you going to be able to take? How will you be able to reduce your costs? So those are the kind of things that they want to see over here. They want to see that you've thought through some of the risks that you have in your business, and you have a plan of action in case they actually materialize. They might not happen, but in case they do materialize, what are you going to do about it? So that's section 9. In section 10, like I said in the beginning, this is really maybe the most important element in the whole submission. And this is what the Cartier challenge is looking for. They want to identify, how are you having an impact on your society or on the environment around you. And this could start by, even like I said, even if you don't have a social business per se, and you are a corporate or a retail shop or something, what are you doing so that you reduce the harm on the environment? What are your practices that you're using with your employees or with the community around you that could show you or showcase how you are leading a responsible business, how you're not harming the environment, how you're not harming the community around you. So those are the kind of things that you want to showcase if you are in a business that doesn't have too much of a social agenda. So even like I said, traditional retail businesses, or if you're doing an enterprise business, you could still show the angles and highlight the angles which reflect on your responsible thinking. And when you look at this aspect, usually what the judges would look for are what is called now the triple bottom line. What kind of impact is your business having on the people around you, what the first P, on the planet, which is the environment, and on the profit, the third P. So like we said here, the Cartier Challenge is looking for sustainable businesses. They're looking for social businesses. They're looking for businesses that have a good impact on the environment and are looking and demonstrating how they're thinking, these businesses are thinking about these three Ps: people, planet, and profit. So if you can summarize how your business is having that kind of impact along these three lines, then that would be very useful. We've also got a course that we've put for you, which is a corporate social responsibility course, again available to you for free, that you can go into, and it'll also give you some ideas in terms of what you could position to showcase how you are having a good impact and the beneficiaries on the beneficiaries around you and the environment. Now, if you are in a social business, of course, this is where you want to highlight really very clearly and meticulously how you are benefiting and the value you're providing to those around you. And I think this is in the next section. This is covered, section 11. So how can you quantify that social impact? Is there a cash equivalent or a number of beneficiaries? So even if you go and you do again, even if you don't have a social business per se, but you're a normal business and you do an activity where your employees volunteer their time and they go and they help children in unfortunate areas learn a new skill. You want to try to quantify that. What kind of impact does that have? How do these children feel? What kind, how will they be able to go back to their families, and what kind of impact would they have to their families or their own communities around them? The more you can quantify that kind of value, the better. If you're doing some kind of community work and you're giving some free, free activities, some free time or free services, free courses, what is the cash value of that? If people were to go and buy this, how much would it cost them? The more you can showcase, again, the cash equivalent, the better. What is the number of beneficiaries? How many people do you impact in your work? Again, the better, the bigger number, the better. So these are very important elements. Section 10 and 11 are the key things that you want to highlight. Even if you are not a social business, you want to highlight how you're having a social impact, how you're thinking about these 3 Ps, the triple bottom line, the profit, and the planet, and the people, and not just the profit. So that's section 11. Section 12 is about how would you qualify, the level of creativity and innovation in your product. Going back to the question maybe Suhair was asking here, you can talk a little bit more about your idea. Why is it innovative? Why is it creative? How are you going to take it forward? How are you going to keep on innovating? What is your innovation process or plan? So those kind of things, just to show the level of differentiation that you have, the level of creativity that you have over here. Hi Hanan, and if you've got any question, please go ahead and send it through the chat. The final question here is section 13 is, why did you apply to the Cartier challenge, and what do you expect from it? So here I would encourage you to focus on putting your situation in a situation where you actually winning this challenge. So you could say, of course, that just by applying to the challenge, you were able to get a better feel, or like I said in the beginning, just by going through these questions and reflecting on them for your own business, I think that's of a great value by itself. Taking some of the courses from us for free is also valuable. So there's a lot of value that you would get just by going and thinking about these questions and how do they impact your own business. But at the same time, what you could do is put yourself in the situation where you've won the challenge. So you've won that $100,000. What would you do with it? And again, judges in this question would want to see where can their investment, where can that $100,000 have the biggest impact on your business. So if you can show that if you just had that $100,000, this is the kind of impact that you can do. This is how much benefit you could have in, for the business and for the community and the environment around you. The more you can show and highlight the value that you could produce from that $100,000, the better it is for you. And that's what the judges would want to see at this stage. So those are the main sections and the main questions, and this gets us to the end of the various questions, and I'm open to see any questions that you have around this. Just on the financial side, which is the last part of the submission, before following these questions, you need to put everything in US dollars, so your projections. If you're looking at raising some funding, or you've already raised some funding, highlight where did you get the funding from, how much have you personally invested, if you've invested. Even if you've invested time, your time is actually worth money. So sometimes people say that I haven't invested anything, but I've been working on this for a year and I'm not taking a salary. But that by itself is an investment. So you need to take that and quantify that amount, in terms of your time, and see how much value that is in dollars, and say that constitutes your investment. On the other hand, you might have got some, you raised some investment from family or friends or from a venture capital firm, and that's the kind of thing you want to highlight over here. So the next section is basically the forecast. As I was mentioning earlier, you want to show actuals from previous years, high level, as you can see here. So revenues, sales, basically. What is the sales growth you've had over the past years, if there has been, what's the overall gross profit, the gross profit as a percentage of sales. Here you want to show that you've got a healthy gross profit taking place in your business. And then you get to the operational expenses, the operational profit, and then you want to show a good percentage of net profit from the operating profits that comes out of this. So these are all high-level numbers that will give the judges an indication of your track record from the past and your forecast. So what do you expect to happen over the coming years? And at the same time, when it comes to the profits, the gross profit, operating profits, and the net profit, they want to get a comfort that you've got a grip on your costs. And as I was talking earlier about the scalability element of your business, they want to see that, as your business is growing from a revenue perspective, that the costs are under control and that your profit margins will still be under control. So these are the key things that you could get, that you need to get across in this section. If you're running a business, I'm sure you already have a lot of this available and ready to you. On the forecasting side, you might not have it, but it's important again for you anyway to have in your business, so it'll be a good exercise to follow. If you need any help in these sections, again, we've got a lot of courses available around financials that could give you a better view of the terms and what usually goes in these sections. Finally, in your submission, you could put your resume. You could attach, if you have a presentation that you'd like to attach, or a video, or some articles, press coverage, anything that gives credibility for your business. You could attach them over here. And this is a free format, so whatever you think could make your case more stronger, go ahead and attach them and include them over here. In the previous questions sections, those are really the parts that the judges are going to look at. And like I said, after you've done all of this, after you've answered all of the questions, you've decided what you're going to put, basically the details, then you go back and write your executive summary. Haya is asking if she could send in Arabic. Unfortunately, the challenge is only open to the English language, so you have to submit all of your information in English, Haya. So because it's a global competition, even though we're focusing from outside on the Middle East and North Africa, which is the Arab region, but because the winners will also go to Paris, and that's where they get to present, everyone needs to know English. So maybe you could find someone from your team that can have English and be able to submit that. So here's the link to the courses that we talked about. If you use this coupon code, you'll get, I think, 1 month free. Is it?
Yeah, it's 2 months.
2 months free access. So there's a lot of free time for you to go and take the various courses, and we've enrolled you automatically in some courses that we think are important to you. So this is the link, note it down, and again, you could very quickly go through some of these courses, and it'll help you get a better idea of how to fill in the application. So Dr. Lana is saying that you've filled in the application before. Dr. Lana, are you talking about you filled it in this year or in previous years? Because if you've done it last year, this year's challenge is totally different. You need to fill it in again. If you filled it in this year, okay, so this year it's good. You know, if you're happy with your submission, that's all you need to do. You know, and you don't need to change. But if you think that you want to do any kind of change or there's some new idea, you've still got time. The submission deadline is the end of the month, as far as it is today, 31st of August. Last year they did extend, but I don't want you to take any risks, so plan to finish all of your submissions as soon as possible. But you could go back and you know, review the submissions later on. Nesria is asking if you could attach some demonstration of the software video. I think in the last section you can attach, let me just go back and see. So there's a PDF. So maybe videos are not available. I'm not 100% sure. They might, in case you cannot attach a video into that final stage, what I suggest you do, Nesria, is that you load it on YouTube, and then in the document you just attach the link to the video. And it could, that you could even put that link in the submission inside, you know, as you answer these questions, so you don't have to put it over there. So in case you cannot load the video itself into the submission, the best thing is to load it into YouTube and then just put the link to that video in your submissions. You could put the link inside your answers to the questions and inside any additional material that you attach later on, like a presentation or a document. Any other questions? So here are some more resources, some more you know, social media handles and pages for the challenge, so you could stay basically in touch, you know, with the challenge, stay up to date with the information, and you could always reach out to our team who's been in touch with you and ask any question. Aline is asking if you could get the webinar recorded. Yeah, so they're recording the webinar and they will be posting it on one of the resources. I'm not sure, but definitely the team will be in touch with you by email. And like I said, if you've got any kind of question, feel free to send it out to any of our team, and they'll be happy to respond. So I'd wish you all the best. Like I said, it's a great opportunity for you to go through the whole process and try to you know, answer these questions even for your own you know, thinking, and to structure your thoughts, take you a little bit out of your day-to-day activities. So that's a very good exercise by itself, and at the same time it's a great opportunity for you to really submit to the Cartier challenge. Not everyone's going to win, of course, but just by submitting, you're giving yourself a very good thought about your business. And this is a yearly challenge. So we had the challenge last year. The last year winner was from one of our entrepreneurs who submitted, like I said, as potential. We don't see any of the submissions, and even the Cartier team doesn't see any of the submissions. They go straight to the judges. But what you do is, as you submit, even if this year you submit and you don't win, you still have an opportunity next year to submit again and win possibly there, because you'd have more experience and you have a better idea of what they're looking for. We don't unfortunately have a French version of the webinar, Leila. And again, even though Cartier is a French company, but the focus of the whole challenge is the English language. So I encourage you to find, if you're not comfortable, someone in your team that is comfortable with English to be with you in the submissions and in applying for this. So like I said, wish you all the best, and if there are no more questions, I want to hope you all have a great remainder of the day and a great evening for those that are in Dubai, who are and in other markets, Oman, that are a little bit further ahead on the time zone. Take care and goodbye. Okay, so I've just seen a very interesting question from Suzanne. Absolutely, Suzanne. All testimonials are really great, and customer testimonials are the best things you can provide. That gives a lot of credibility to what you're working on, and your business. So yes, please do include them in your submissions, and any kind of references like that would be great. Okay, bye bye everyone. Thanks.